Hello, welcome along to this session. I'm going to be performing a OneDrive migration with the MigrationWiz tool from BitTitan. I'm going to take you through about what we need to do for the setup on both the source and the target side, and then we'll set up a project and actually do the migration and watch it happen. We can look at the OneDrive from one side, the source account, and look at it on the target account and see that data drop in there. So if you're doing a OneDrive migration and want to use the MigrationWiz product, then stick around here, because this is exactly how you would use the tool to get that task done. So inside the MigrationWiz console, this is our first screen here. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to go straight to the Help Center, because this is a great resource. You're going to need a couple of the links in here when you set up the migration. So I'll show you where we need to be casting our attention to. So we're going to be in Perform a Migration, and right at the top here, you can see you've got the OneDrive there. We're going to use OneDrive for Business. That's the guide we want to have a look at. And you can see this one here, OneDrive for Business with versions and metadata in here. And you can see this is the article which explains what we need to do. Now I'm going to tell you about everything here, but the one I want you to look at, so we can have this for later on in the preparing of the source, because we're going to be using the app-based authentication. Now this one here has got this, which is the SharePoint full control, which actually it places that application registration into your source and your target tenants. So anyway, let's go back to the project start, and let me show you how we go about starting things off there. So the first step is in both sides. We obviously need that service account, which would have for normal MigrationWiz work. And you can see on this one here, this is the this tenant here is the Planium tenant, which is going to be our target tenant. So we'll look at that one first. But if we go to the MigrationWiz service account, you can see I've called it MigWiz at Planium.com. That's all set in there. And if I look at the source tenant, if we look at active users here as well, you'll see a very similar account. If I scroll down just quickly, there is a MigrationWiz at Cozy Mouse as well. So those are the accounts. They just need to be a global reader. No particular rights needed for the administration on that one, but obviously that's the service account we've been using for other modules as well. We're going to utilize that for the OneDrive migration too. Now what we do need on this side is we need to set up for the OneDrive to work. We need to have a security group set up, and that's going to be, as you can see here, called MigrationWiz. And in that security group, you want to drop your service account, which is that, like I say, the MigWiz at cozymouse.com or the MigWiz at Planium.com for your either site, whether it's source or the tenant or the target. So that really is the first step. And if I look at the other tenant as well, look at the groupings there. Let's have a look at active teams and groups. Have a look at security groups. And I've already got one set up as well, MigrationWiz, and you can see, yes, there is our member list, MigWiz at Planium.com. So we're good to go with that. If you haven't got those set up in your tenant already, it is just a straight basic security group that you set up with the name. There's no space between them. Remember that it is MigrationWiz as one word. That's important to remember, but we need to have that in place. Now, if I refer back to the help desk article, you can see what we've just done here is this here, the MigrationWiz as a security group, and the user that's in there. And what we need is to grab this guy. So what I suggest you do is you right click on that, and we copy the link address, because you're going to need to run that in both of the tenants. So therefore you've got your this one here, the Cozy Mouse tenant. I'm logged in with the admin account as a global admin, so I would go here, and I'm just going to paste that item in. And yes, we're going to use the admin account, and you can see there it's saying that it wants to have these permissions added, which I want to say accept. Once we do that, if it works correctly, it'll just drop us back to the main BitTitan front end, which is what that is there. There we go. So that has now been applied, and I want to do that on the Planium side too. So we grab this one is logged in again with a global admin account, so we'll paste that in there, and there's our account. Again, it wants to apply those rights. We say accept, and it should drop us back to the BitTitan screen. There we go. So if you want to have a look what it's done now, let's go into the enterprise applications here. You can see I'm on the source tenant, the Cozy Mouse, and if I sort these by date, you can see now we've got a MigrationWiz SharePoint full control in here. So when you're done with the migration, it's a good practice to go in here and remove that just to make sure it can't be used in future. So that is on the source tenant. If I jump into the target tenant as well, refresh as well, there we are, SharePoint full control with today's date on it too, which is good. So really we are good to go with that. We've got our MigrationWiz service account in that group, in the MigrationWiz group. So really we're ready to configure the project now. So then in the MigrationWiz console we'll do create project, and this will be a document project. So we'll click on that and let's give it a name. So it will be Cozy Mouse. We'll call this one OneDrive demo. Now we've already got a customer in there for Cozy Mouse. We did a mailbox migration previously, so we'll select that. If this is just one you're doing for OneDrive and it's not in there, just hit new and create your new customer there. But now we hit next step, and we need to set up both the source and destination endpoints. So we'll hit new, and we'll call this one, let's call this Cozy Mouse OneDrive, which will be a OneDrive for Business. And these credentials are going to be for the service account which we created. So I'll put that in there. There we go, add that in. And we'll hit the next step. It'll ask us for the destination settings now. So similarly, we'll do the new, and we'll put this one, I'll call it Planium OneDrive. And the same thing here, we've got OneDrive for Business too. And you can see we get a few more options on this one. So we are going to be doing the versions and metadata. That does make the migration a bit longer. So if you don't need those, just do the documents and permissions instead. That makes it a bit quicker if that's not something you require. But here we'll do the same thing. We've got MigrationWiz at planium.com for that service account, like so. And we're going to be using the Microsoft provided Azure storage for this one. You can set up a custom Azure storage if you want to and have that into your own account instead, but we use the Microsoft one for this demonstration. So now we hit add, and that is now there. We also now need to check the location, I'll put this United States here, of the target region that your tenant lives in. Now this is mainly to make sure that the workers that do the migration are positioned in a place which is close to the target. It does help the performance of the migration when it doesn't have to cross those region boundaries. So that's why we would choose these now. So we hit United States on that one, and I'm going to hit save and go to summary. Like that. And you can see there, we will now hit Save Project. Now before we do that, however, what I do need to do is go to the Advanced Options, and I need to put one in. Now if we go to our Help Desk article, you can see here, there is our option, Use Application Permission equals 1. So I'm going to copy that out and put that in here, like so. Hit Validate, and that will go ahead, and now I can hit Save, and that's dropped in. So you can see that was a requirement. As you can see here, it's number 8 on that setting up the source environment. Now I just want to bring your attention to some of these options you can have in the advanced options. And you can see some of the recommendations are things like having the initialization timeout set to 8 hours. Like you see it says there, especially useful for large migrations. We've got some other things there to say, are the OneDrives already provisioned? If they're not provisioned already, it will try and do it for us, which obviously means that service account has to have the rights to be able to do it. You won't be able to do it if it's just a global reader. You're going to need to have probably just put global admin on there, unless you want to go and provision them yourself. So I'm going to show you next how we actually run some PowerShell to effectively light up all of those OneDrive accounts in the target tenant. Makes it a bit easier for the migration if they're just done and set ready to receive data. So I personally like to do that myself. And then you've also got the things to say, are the migration files going to be quite large? So we'd say yes, they're over 15 gig, and also some timeout settings as well. So they're good to have in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add these items into the advanced options, and then we're going to jump in and do that PowerShell work. So there they are in there now. We'll hit validate, make sure they're correct. If we do have errors in there, it will tell us, and then we can hit save and save project. And we're ready to add those users in. Now I'm going to do the addition of the items into the project. Now I'm going to hit bulk add here. We could do quick add and do them one by one, but now this is the source file, which if you hit download sample CSV, it's going to give you a file which is obviously blank, but it's going to have like source email and destination. So these are commands I put in from the previous mailbox migration. I'm going to use this same file to bring this information in, but I'm also going to use this to do the PowerShell work for the OneDrive provisioning too. So really what I've got here is just these names with the source and the target. So I'm going to be using that now. I'll go and select the file and bring that in. You can see there, select file, it's brought these items in here, and I can hit save on that, and I'll just drop them into the migration console here. So let's jump back into the Excel, and let's show you how we would get these commands ready and how we use PowerShell to provision all these OneDrive accounts in that target tenant. So starting off with a PowerShell 7 window here, we're going to be installing that module for the SharePoint Online first of all, which if I just run back a few commands, you'll see there it is, install module, and hit enter on that. That should now bring that in for us. There we go. Okay, now when we're importing that module as well, we're actually going to use this command with that on the end of it. Now with the use Windows PowerShell on the end, that helps out with the different versions that we got installed here. So that's good to have. You see, you get a few little notes about it, but essentially that has brought in that PowerShell module for us. So now what we do is we can connect to the back end. If I do, sorry, connect service. Yes, that is the one we want. Connect SPO service with that URL of the SharePoint admin for that tenant name. You can see there's our tenant name, TCG E5 demo, with the -admin, which is the back end. Once we connect in there, it's going to ask us for login. I'm going to say use a different account. We need to use the account, which will be admin at TCG E5 demo.on Microsoft.com, and that password, which should ask us for the nope, actually we've already authenticated, so no MFA required. Okay, but now we're in there. We are now connected to the SharePoint backend inside the target tenant now, and we can check our connection. If we just do a straight get SPO site, we should get something back from SharePoint. There we go. So we know we're connected. We can see data in there. Okay, so let's just pause that one for a second there, and let's go back to our Excel. Now what I'm going to do here is going to insert a column and make it a bit bigger, give us a bit of space to work with. And what we do is we're going to set up the PowerShell command here using this as the input for it. So the command we're going to put in here is going to be equals, and it will be request, and it's SPO personal site, it's -user emails, and we're going to have the email address of this guy here. So we're going to stop that and be this one, like so. Now if I do that, you'll see, oh, what have I got wrong there? Ah, my apologies, I've got to put a quote in there instead. There we go. So what it's done is it's created this line for us. Now the reason we do that is because I can now just paste it into those three as well, and you can see it's giving us 3 commands. What we now do is just grab those, copy that into the PowerShell like so, and that will go ahead and provision the OneDrive backend that quickly for all of those accounts. And what you can do there, you can check that out. You can just go into the console and you can see if they have it set up. So let's do that. That's the cozy mouse, that's the source. Here's the target. Let's go back to the users now, and we'll grab one of those guys. Let's have a look at Dilbert here, and in the console we can see what the OneDrive status is. and you can see there it says OneDrive isn't set up for the user, which is good. We have actually triggered it in the back end, but nothing yet. This is a good demonstration of when it actually does go through and work. So if I hit refresh on it, we should find that shortly the OneDrive will be provisioned for that user. And look at that, a few refreshes and you can see OneDrive is now provisioned for this one. So that took about 2 or 3 minutes before that was ready to go there. So it's good. So yeah, you can see how using Excel with your runbook that you've got for your different things, that's a very useful way to get things done very quickly. Is just putting these type of PowerShell commands and building them from the data that you already have there. Okay, so before we kick these off, I'm going to have a look at the source. So there is our source for the Cozy Mouse for the OneDrive for Bob Jones. You can see he does have information in there. Let's have a look at his documents, and he's got plenty of stuff. So some stuff we've thrown in there for some testing, some old files there. But that's his OneDrive there. If we look at the other side, let's have a look at his account on the Planium side. This is new side on the target. Let's have a look at the OneDrive here. I'm expecting it to be pretty empty, and there we go. Yeah, my files, and it's just got apps set up, nothing special at all. So let's kick off the migration and we should see things appear over this side. So what we do there is, well, actually firstly before we do that, I should mention this user migration bundle. You can see because we've already got this migration set up here, which was the mail one, and we did apply a UMB license there, the system in the back end knows these email addresses now have a valid license. So automatically, when we've created the OneDrive project, it's looked them up, it knows they're there, and it has a user migration bundle active flag as yes. If it didn't have one as yes, it means you probably haven't done a mail migration for them in this particular instance. So you then go and like say here, and you just go and do the license, and you say apply my license there, and that would apply it in there. But as I say, it's automatic because it's noticed that you've already done it for those mailbox users. So that's certainly a good thing there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first of all, and like we did with the mailbox migrations, we do verify credentials, just to make sure that everything is connected and working nicely with the API permissions and the other logons that it needs. So we'll just wait a bit, wait for that to go through and come back and make sure that is all good. Now while we're waiting for that, have a look at this nice option here. There's this item here to say enable the page auto refresh. That is good. You can see that you can stop it if you want to. That's good. Now we just sit back and it stops us hammering away at the refresh button, trying to make it go faster. But no, that's a good thing. So we'll come back to this once it has finished that verification. You can see that's now come back as completed with a tick for verification. So we are now good to go with this migration. So I'm going to grab everybody, and we can do a pre-migration if we want, and that'll take everything up to the last 30 days if we select it. Let me just show you that in here. You can say, yep, we want to have everything right up to 30 days ago. It's a good idea sometimes to pre-stage things so that when you do the full migration, it doesn't take as long because it's only having to do 30 days worth of changes. Depends on your migration situation, whether they're large or really how you want to do it. Pre-staging is definitely a good idea in this. In this case for the demonstration, I'm just going to go straight to a full migration. We don't have a lot of data in there. I want to show you a full migration as it happens. But you definitely should be doing a pre-migration of your data first and then doing a full migration to do the catch-up, like the delta between the two, when you have your migration night or your weekend that you're actually performing this for people. So with all those tagged, I'm going to go into the item here for full migration, and we'll pick up and say we can turn these on or off as we need to. I'm going to leave them in place how we are there. If I wanted the migration to start later in the evening, perhaps I could do an automatic schedule here. In this one, I'm just going to say start and just go ahead and migrate it with that button there. So you can see now they're in submitted stage. I'll turn on that auto refresh again for us. But what we'll start to see is the data coming over. If I grab that other account, there we go, and have a look. If I just leave this screen open, we should see data start to come into that once the migration process kicks off in the back end. So I'll just pause now and come back to that once I start seeing data in there. Looks like we're just about done here. The account which we're paying attention to, which is the Bob Jones one, has completed. We're just waiting for one down the bottom to finish up. But while we're waiting for that, let's have a look at this account, make sure it has done exactly what we expect it to. So if we go into the target, yep, you can see now we've got data in there, which is good. Now let's have a look at documents, and yeah, there's our data. Now what you may notice is on the last one we had some of these folders that were shared out. Now they're not going to be shared out automatically in the target, because obviously the sharing process does things in the back end like create the invite and send things and add them in. It's not one of those things that we want to be able to migrate. We want to just provision that in the target once it's been done. So you will need to tell your users if they have been sharing a particular folder with somebody, they are going to need to go back in and reshare it, which is obviously a manual task that they're going to need to do. However, looking at this here, everything is over. You can see that all the modified dates and the name of everything has been carried over as well. So that is certainly good. But it looks like all of this data is nicely intact as well. So that's good. So let's come back to our console here. We just wait for this one to finish up. Oh, there we go. Completed for excellent, as you can see. Now it did have one error, and let's have a look at that, because it's talking about a shortcut item that couldn't be imported. So not a hugely problematic error. I think we're fine to carry on with that one. But if you want to go a little bit deeper, you can go and have a look at the logs for that person. You can actually see where things were and go through, and it's just going to say yes, that is the shortcut item that it found. We can't really see which one it is, but if it was an error that really was a bit more important, should we say, you'll get the links on there and look into that in a bit detail about what is going on. But no, I would be happy with that one. Everything else looks fine with the data move, so I think we're good. Now let's go back up here. Now what I would suggest, if this was the last migration you're doing for these two tenants, you'd then go in and clean up those application registrations and also that account, the MigrationWiz service account, the security groups. You can kill all of that off, obviously, now once the migration is complete. But obviously if we're doing more, we'd leave that in place for now. So that really concludes what I'm doing here on this session today. Thank you for watching and spending time with me on this one. Hope it helped, and please feel free, have a look through the help desk article for more information on certain things. But yeah, once again, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.